Welcome to INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech. Today, we're delighted to have our guest all the way from the UK, who is also a sports lawyer who turned an entrepreneur, a founder, and a CEO, a co-founder and a CEO of Summit Sports, which we're going to talk about, and what led to that path from being a sports lawyer, which actually really an interesting profession, I would say. But I'll let Oliver tell us all about it. Oliver, first of all, thank you for joining us. And I'll give you the mic to introduce yourself and give us some insights and background and expertise, and we'll take it from there.
Bob, good to see you. Thanks for having me on. As you mentioned, I was a sports lawyer. So, actually a Glaswegian. I'm Scottish. I studied in Scotland, did a master's in sports law because I always knew I wanted to be a football agent, actually. And I thought that if I headed south from Scotland, it would give me the best career path and opportunity. Ended up training as a lawyer in the City of London, and upon qualification, I opened up this Law Society Gazette magazine, and it's got an advert for the Premier League as a legal services executive was the role they were seeking. And I was like, whoa, this is interesting. And I applied for it and I got it. And I saw the rest is history, as they say. So upon newly qualification, I've got the dream job. I'm the general counsel and commercial and IP at the Premier League. Well, I became it after 3 months because the guy who hired me left. So it was very much sink or swim. And I spent 7 years on commercial and IP and sponsorship and broadcast and lobbying across the world on anti-piracy. And it was absolutely fascinating. And the amount of autonomy I had, I took the Premier League down past they probably could never envisage, suing YouTube and a class action in the US, as an example. But after 7 years, I was then like, okay, I need a new challenge. Doing these right cycles every 3 years is becoming a bit repetitive, a bit monotonous. I'm bashing frogs in the piracy stuff. And I got headhunted, and to this day, I still don't know who it was who recommended me to this niche headhunter, who I'd also never heard of. And it was for a role in Formula One. And I wasn't a petrolhead, I wasn't a purist. I grew up watching some of the greats in Formula One races. The Mansells, the Prosts, the Sennas. Scotland's had a couple of really incredible racing drivers, from Jackie Stewart, David Coulthard. My dad's Brazilian, so Senna was a favourite in the household. But the politics and the disparity and the self-ego and the interest in Formula One was always something I was evidently quite aware of. But I got sold in this role to become Secretary General of the Formula One Teams Association. Maybe later we can talk about some of those challenges. But after that, I worked in sports tech and in early metaverse propositions, and I had a gaming and esports startup, which was my first rodeo, so to speak, as a founder. Then I got back on the corporate hamster wheel, but it was with another startup in boxing. And it was there that I saw how badly managed and promoted athletes were, which is why I then went and set up an athlete content creator management company. So this sort of very quick run through of my CV, so to speak. But it's been
Amazing. Very interesting. I have to say, a very interesting journey. Really interesting journey. And I would say extremely inspiring that you managed always to stay on top, but you stayed around I would say your career, but you still moved around.
Yeah, it's difficult when you go out of one high profile job to land in something equally as
Yeah.
interesting. Not talking about as high profile, but something equally as interesting. And that has always been my challenge. Every iteration as I finished a role, when I've gone maybe back to advisory or, to be multi-client work, it's because there's never been anything as interesting out there for me. But when I came out of gaming and esports and I again got headhunted for the boxing role, I wasn't sold on it. But a little bit like with F1, I did a bit of due diligence, spoke to a few people, and it sold me on it. And once you're back in that hamster wheel and you're in the echelons of talking to people that you maybe spoke to 5, 6, 7 years ago when you were in the football Formula One world, it's great because it reinvigorates relationships, it opens up new pathways for you. And I've always been like that you treat people obviously the way that you'd want to be treated, and preserve relationships and act with integrity and professionalism. So that's really the values that I've always carried through, even when I've been out working on my own. Although I have, I'm quite cognizant of the fact that when you don't have a blue chip brand attached to you as a job role, it is a lot more difficult to open doors sometimes and get responses on email.
Which one is the most, I would say, it's a question with two parts, more challenging and more exciting job that you had? Because you kind of ran through your whole resume to us. So I'm like, let me ask.
the most challenging was, well, actually, I think London United, which was a purpose-driven gaming and esports startup, was extremely challenging because I wasn't pulling a salary. Work-wise, the Formula One role was as challenging as ever, for some of the reasons aforementioned. But with a startup, when you're in a country that's got two prime ministers in a month, and you've got Brexit, and you've also got other factors like COVID and bear markets, and a guy who was helping me raise money died. I could give you a whole, it's a fraudulent investment. That was certainly very challenging. But the flip side of what I achieved, and all you have to do is Google LDN London United, you'll see a litany of really what I think was a quite impressive stuff. And why I'm most proud of it is because I came from an industry into a different industry. I came as a traditional sports guy into gaming and esports with these ideas. And my idea was to work with young gamers, take them on a path to pro like you might do in sport in an academy model, but hold events for tryouts. But the big USP was focus and social purpose. Use gaming and esports to address social issues, knife crime, mental health, physical health, nutrition, all issues that you probably wouldn't normally associate with gaming, which is sitting in your ass 23 hours a day. And that was the first thing we would say to gamers and parents and creators and the competitive players. We're not an org where you're just sitting 23 hours a day playing video games as much as you might want to.
Interesting. You mentioned something, sports tech. Can we touch on that? I'm really, wherever there's something tech, the word tech attached to, it grabs my attention immediately.
So the first sports tech proposition was called Virtually Live. Again, you find them online, and it was a early stage VR proposition, but it was tethered headsets. They should have definitely started in mobile and gone up to tethered, because tethered brought its own problems and huge headaches. If you remember the first HTC Vives, and you had like the quadrants having to angle themselves to the floor to reflect onto the headset, and we went to the Premier League and we blew the power supply. There were just so many problems with those headsets. But the whole idea was it recreated the environment of a motorsport race or a football match, put you in the stadium, put you in the car, allowed you to ghost race against other drivers. It was metaverse proposition, but it was CGI and data and social. I think Virtual Live got a patent around it because they included the social element. And what was quite gratifying for me was that, again, I went into a new industry and built up, from a broadcast sports perspective, the business model for these guys. And we got a deal away with Formula E, and so much so that the broadcaster integrated the CGI content into their live output. So there were lots of mistakes that were made, some which I didn't agree with, because I think that it should have started as a mobile-friendly proposition, which was far easier to accumulate numbers and audience and traction, for one. And I think the fact ghost racing hadn't ever been done successfully should have been a message not to rush it to market. Maybe we should have focused more on production and doing activations for BMW with their sponsorship at a Formula E race and bringing their clients at the golf events into a stand. So there were learnings there, and then I got involved in a couple of other propositions, an IoT one, an app with content, and actually more recently, again involved as an advisor with a startup called Viewpop, which is an app for you at an event where you can film content, and if the broadcaster likes that content, they can utilize it, and you will be remunerated for use of the content. So it's democratization in some respects. It gives the broadcaster exclusive content and also angles that they might not necessarily capture, which I think is brilliant. And DAZN used it as a test at the weekend. So I love the sports tech space. I was just out in Tel Aviv a couple of weeks ago. I met with a lot of sports tech companies. It's a thriving hub there. Biometric data scanning, brain scans on the mobile phone in boxing. I'm working with a boxing league startup that uses data and technology for scoring and monitors brain load through a gum shield with a sensor in it. So I'm still very passionate about sports tech. As much as day to day I like managing athletes and helping them with their careers, I do love the latest sports tech propositions and seeing where I can be a value add.
How far you could see, I would say, the future of tech being involved heavily into sports in many different aspects of it. What's your opinion on that? Like, what's the future look with technology?
Well, I
With
mean, it's been utilized for a long time. If I go back to when I was at the Premier League 20 years ago, we did the first ever trial for goal line technology with Hawkeye.
uh-huh.
And it's only in the last God knows how many years that it's become a fixed force. And then you've had VAR. So technology is rife in sport. I think what is interesting is obviously the evolution of technology to enhance and amplify the viewing experience for the consumer. And I talked to a broadcaster today, and they were saying we've got this fan engagement platform, but we don't get enough content. So anything that has a technical ability to provide us in real time with something that will enhance our subscriber base is of value. I'm seeing technology across all sports. You only have to watch the Olympics to see how it's being integrated. Swimming is an already better experience, isn't it? With the augmentation in the water, and you can see the timings and the position of swimmers.
Yes, yes. Would you say that fan engagement right now in sports, or I would say the next level of fan engagement would be participation through technology, through tech, AI, and VR, which is metaverse.
But that's what we were trying to do with
Yeah.
Formula E and Virtually Live. Exactly, we were just ahead of the curve. But now you're seeing it happen a lot more. And actually, you have you seen the Sphere in Vegas and what they've been doing?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, with all the AR and the bringing fans into the environment during football, I think it's only going one way because as a fundamental, the way sport is consumed now and the convergence of media has changed over time, let alone the demographic that some of these broadcasters are seeking is far more difficult to bring in, isn't it? Because they're all maybe Gen Z, Gen Ys, they're on YouTube, they consume short form, snackable, bite-sized content.
Correct,
So there's
correct.
got to be evolution.
So what you're telling me is the old way of viewing sports, it's still there, but for the younger generation, they want to participate in that, to be part of it through technology, not being
Well, they want
actually
to be
at.
part of it.
Yes.
They want to be part of it, but they probably also don't want to sit and watch a 90-minute game of football either.
No, no, no. So, participation and experience is becoming the new future for sports for the younger generation.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's accurate.
So yes, that's where it's going to. Amazing. It's interesting. I've been talking about that, the experiential, where experience, when since TikTok came in, whether it's sports, whether it's just entertainment, whatever it is, the viewer became the actual creator, and the fan became the creator, both, and and it became based all about experience, creating viral experience and using music, and music became part of that experience. And I think for sports also, and now the future where the fan or the viewer themselves could participate, but through technology, not actually in reality. In a way, it makes them part of that, become involved in the actual sports itself while they're watching.
Whilst
I
they
think,
watch it and whilst they attend it as well, I think the
yeah,
days of just rocking up to an event and having nothing to do are long gone. I mean, the American sports have been the best for fan engagement for a long time. I always say that when I would go to the NBA game in London, it's the best fan engagement event I ever go to. But
really.
then you go and sit in Yankee Stadium. How long have you been able to have activity at your seat, for example?
Yes, correct. And I mean, okay, maybe, but in Europe also, and other parts in the Middle East and Europe and Latin America, soccer is a big thing. And the fan engagement on that, it's the highest anywhere in the world.
Yeah, Tottenham's a great example what they've done
Yeah,
with their stadium. Yeah, absolutely.
amazing. So AI will get involved. I mean, well, it is involved, but at a more the experience level will be part of that.
Yes, you can't escape it, can you?
No, no. It's at a rate of speed of light, how much we're advancing in technology. I mean,
Yeah.
only what we see. We don't know even what's being made and what's being released. We're not even aware of it. But yes, it is
Well, we
absolutely.
should do a trip. We should do a trip to Vegas to CES, shouldn't we, and see what's out there. But I've been going to the Sportel Sports Broadcast Conference for years in Monaco, and the La Liga were always pushing AR, for example.
Hmm.
So it's definitely been at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. I just think it's the buzzwords like metaverse have just snapped into place, and
Yeah,
NFTs, and everyone got jumped on the bandwagon. But the technology and the evolution of technology in sport has been around now for some time. It's just become a lot more sophisticated, and also everyone is competing for eyeballs and dollars, aren't they? Everyone's
correct.
looking for ways to differentiate themselves.
Hmm. All of this going to lead us to your latest venture that you've been leading. You're a co-founder and CEO of Summit Sports. Let's talk about what led you to start Summit Sports, and what's the vision, what's the future, and how do you want to impact?
Well, the shortest answer on how I want to impact is I want to help athletes and content creators, and I genuinely want to help them with integrity and professionalism and transparency. I don't want horror stories to continue to be repeated to me about their experience of their careers being managed. And that is why I set up Summit Sports, because when I was working in boxing, I saw a lot of bad management, a lot of bad promotion of athletes. And
Correct.
these guys have got short careers, and often they've got 7 or 8 people in their entourage, all siphoning money off them, all
Correct.
possibly not doing the best by them. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I came together with a YouTuber um, who is very active in the golf space, and we set up Summit Sports. Two sorts of divisions I would suggest. One being more traditional sport and combat sport, and the other being content creators and predominantly golf. And the whole idea, really, on the athlete side is you can offer them anything they need, from the management to legal to commercial to PR to even financial planning if they needed that. And then the content creator side is very different, because by nature of being a content creator, you should already be good at your content. So that's far more navigating the pitfalls of the career and finding them brand deals. And the vision really is to just help as many athletes as we can. It's not been easy, being very open with you. We haven't found a cash cow. We haven't raised a lot of money, so having the in-house sales support has been more of a challenge. But the positive feedback you get from athletes saying you've helped me more than anyone's helped me in the past really reinforces to me that it's the right thing to do.
You mentioned something about content creation and athletes. Content is Everything's about content. So when you say content creation, you mean you're talking about athletes creating your own brand new content?
So we've got golf content creators, all Instagram, TikTokers, YouTubers that are essentially concentrating just on golf content. But my vision really is to have an athlete come into a content creator's environment, and you start to cross pollinate, because then think about Samsung, for example, wanting to work with a boxer and wanting to work with a golfer. And all of
Hmm.
a sudden you say, look, we could make this really interesting content where the boxer goes and does a golf competition, and we bring the golfer into the ring and
But
we do something a bit funny. Exactly. Cross pollination. Cross
yes.
pollination is my favorite 2 words, really. Yeah, that's my vision. Um, but athletes have recognized they can't stand still. They've got to tell their story first, because no one else is going to tell the story. And the way you tell your story nowadays, as we've sort of just been discussing, is by content. Content is king. If you're not out there differentiating yourself, if my content's the same as yours but it's different to Johnny's,
Hmm.
who are they going to? Where's a brand going to work with?
Hmm. Very interesting. Getting all athletes involved, well, the mostly pro athletes you
I mean,
work
we've got
with?
amateurs as well. Yeah,
Amateurs,
I've got,
okay.
we've got a young amateur, but yeah, mostly pros.
I mean, one of the biggest things on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, a lot of, I would say, amateur athletes, but not to degrade what they're doing. No, they're absolutely amazing in working out and training, in all type of sport, whether it's CrossFit or it's running or lifting. And a lot of them give amazing advices. Some of them are really on point, creating their own
College
content.
sport
And
is
the
huge.
following, yes, and the following is beyond, in the millions, some of them. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a look at it. College sports athletes, bigger followings than some of the MMA athletes over here.
Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. So the future is basically independent athletes and content creation. And you said the word, two favorite word, cross pollination, which is really very, I like it. I'm gonna use that word. I
Yeah,
like it. Yeah.
throw in authentic as well, and
Yeah.
authenticity.
Uh-huh. Yes, authenticity, absolutely. Interesting. So this is the vision, really. This is, so, and because of what you saw happening in the sports world, you decided to say, hey, there's one, I need to help a lot of these athletes. And one way to do it, I'm going to set up my own operation, Summit Sports. And that's my goal, to help, to solve, to bring some of these athletes back to the forefront through content creation, through social media and all of that.
Absolutely right. But
Uh-huh.
athletes need to work and they need to get paid, and
Hmm.
that's a challenge. And sometimes they're just desperate to do deals, and it often isn't the right deal. And you've got to navigate them through the pitfalls of that. I mean, ultimately, it's up to them to make the decision, but you've got to be there to give them the best guidance possible.
Hmm. Um, what's the future you think of watching sports? Is it all going to be still we go to a stadium and and enjoy and cheer and jump up and down and eat our hot dogs and drink a couple of glasses of beers if you're old enough and and all of that and a couple of fights here and there?
Nothing recreates live sport, though, does it? Being at a live
No,
sports event.
no.
Someone said to me, I argued with me the other day, why do people watch esports players? I'm like, well, why do you watch footballers kick a ball around? It's exactly the same. You go to the live event for the experience.
Correct.
And yeah, you could put, and probably the second best bet is if you can't make it, like you're a Liverpool fan, you're in Austin, for example, you put on a headset and you can be as close as possible to it. But I bet you if you went to the UK, you'd go to Liverpool to a game, wouldn't you? Because you want that experience and
Yes.
that feeling of being sat in the seat and hearing the fans sing and seeing it in real life.
Well,
And
you just walk in, you feel the adrenaline everywhere. Everywhere.
correct.
Yes.
And you're never going to lose that. I mean, I watched WWE with my son, not probably something I shouldn't admit, but
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it. I watched it as a kid and then he's got me back into it. So we went in London to the event and I genuinely left with this was an amazing night of entertainment
Hmm.
feeling. Very different. I mean, we watched it the other day on television. You could see the atmosphere in Paris. It was like a sports event. And we were there going, we wish we were there.
It's funny, in the middle of our conversation, you mentioned something about the experience and fan engagement and bringing technology and having the fans or to be part of that sport, not just to watch it, to be part of it through technology, obviously, AI and metaverse, which is VR and AR, all of that. Now, this is the new word is metaverse
Yeah.
and or meta world. And my background, I come from the music business. I'm still in it, and tech, I added to it. And I'm always fascinated about other industries and other fields because the music business always been, I would say, with a kind of closed walls. They never brought in anybody from the outside. Now I'm preaching mixing music industry with other fields, and that's how you're gonna grow. That's how you're gonna get ideas. And I've been preaching the word, the experience. A lot of the younger generation to listen to just have a pair of headphones and use their phone and listen to some of your standard streaming platform is no longer interesting. It's no longer fascinating. That's why TikTok generated so many users and so many followers in a short period. In a couple of years, a few years, they became huge, huge, massive. And why? Because of the experience. People want something different. They want to be part of it. But as the technology, this is how much it allowed them to be by creating their own content, mixing it with music, creating these spirals. So as I said, the fan, the follower became the creator, the artist themselves. So
Well,
what's
I mean,
next?
you've seen that. You've seen that in Fortnite, haven't you? Sorry to cut across you
Yes.
because
No, no,
I
no, no. Yes, that's what the conversation is about.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you've seen it in gaming, haven't you? In Fortnite, where these
Gaming is
artists,
always ahead. Gaming is always ahead of the game. Yeah, I said it always. Gaming, you're absolutely correct, Oliver or Ollie. Always gaming is always ahead. Yes, always ahead of the music business, ahead of the entertainment business. Why? I don't know, but it's ahead. And the
the
music business
technology's
fall.
allowed it. Technology has allowed it as well to
Yes,
provide different
yes,
offerings, whether it's a concert in Fortnite or even Roblox. Look at how Roblox is tailored for the
yes,
younger generation.
yes, yes. And I see that's the future of the music business. I
Yeah.
see it. Listening to a platform, great as us. I'm not gonna say I'm old, but to me, yes. I don't want to participate and play games. I'll just listen to songs I want through streaming platforms. But a younger generation don't want that anymore. This is not interesting enough. I don't want to. I would rather give me something new. And I think that's where I need to. Yes, there's a pushback, sure, because there's money, there's control, and when there's a new technology, you cannot control it anymore. You need to have, it's a whole brand new infrastructure, new ideas, new staff, new thing to control it, so you can control the money, the artists, the income, and all of that. And that's why there's a massive pushback from inside the music business. But I'm glad at least the sports industry sees the future and say, hey, we need to be part of it. We need to engage, not just somebody old wants to sit down, or they want to hang out at a bar, watch a football game or soccer game or a basketball or baseball or hockey, whatever it is. No, there's also younger fans we want. These are the people that where you can market product to, the younger generation, the younger fans, the 10-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 9-year-old, the 8-year-old. They want to watch sports. How can they watch us and be part of it? Through technology, you know.
Well, through technology. I mean, just whilst you were talking about music, I was thinking about Oasis. I never thought we'd be talking about Oasis on this podcast, but I don't know if you followed the Oasis revival and having reformed after 25 years and sellouts across the world. But they have captured the imagination of not just the likes of me who grew up listening to them, but a huge younger demographic as well. And that's just from streaming services and YouTube.
You know what? I think your own words, we need to do the following your own words. You said, I'll say it again, cross-pollination and authenticity. We should do that between music and sports.
Yeah, no, I think more and more they're trying it, aren't they? They brought music artists, I'm saying it again, in WWE because they are one of the leading entertainment providers of sport. But then you see at the Super Bowl, you've always got the halftime show, don't you? With music.
Always, always. Always.
Formula One's done concerts for a long time, and actually, you argue that probably a lot. Sometimes at these races, more people come for the concert than the race.
But definitely, we need to bring technology into it, and that's how the only way to cross it.
It's just a great way to sell extra seats, isn't it? There's only a finite amount of bodies that can ever attend a live event.
Yes.
So try and then second best
the experience. It's all about the experience. It's all about the experience these days.
Authentic experience.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We're great. So, tell us about the future for Summit Sports and you,
Well,
Ollie.
for me, I want to continue to be involved in the sports tech space, and I'm privileged to be helping a couple of companies at the moment, as I mentioned earlier. And then, from Summit Sports, just want to help athletes to the best extent that I can. Recognizing the challenges that they face and navigate their careers best as possible.
You know what? I want to bring some of these ideas. I'm going to invite you publicly right here on this podcast to bring you to the music business also. To kind of bring some of those ideas that you have into the music business, and we can work on them together, because we already been working on a few things. But having somebody from the other side, from outside the music industry, I think that's what always kind of you can bring more, you flourish something.
Yeah, fresh
Yes,
eyes.
yes, absolutely. Great.
Great.
And anything you would like to, well, first of all, I'd like to get your point of view on any of the younger entrepreneurs who want to get involved, who want to take the same path like you did or something different, but in sports. What's your advice to them? What's the challenges that they need to overlook, or some of the noise that they need to brush aside and focus on?
I think it's quite materialistic, but I think financially you've got to be able to do that journey. If you're going to go and be a founder, you've got to be confident and have the support network around you to do it financially. Without a support, if you're married and you have a family, without a supportive wife, and you'll be trimming costs if you're not got recurring revenue coming in immediately, and you're not going to be pulling the big salary. It's unlikely you'll be pulling the big salary that you maybe once were. You need to have a lot of support around you. You got to be brave. You got to learn from the mistakes. You got to be brazen. It's almost a little bit like when someone says, "How do I get into the industry?" I say, "You got to bash doors down. You got to bash doors down." And it sort of goes in this, doesn't it? You got to go and knock doors down and try and get things happening. Things don't just happen themselves.
Yes. Well, you heard it first here on INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech from Ollie, who was the CEO and co-founder of Summit Sports. You got to be brave, and you got to smash doors down. That's it. So be brave and just keep going forward. Ollie, Oliver, it's a pleasure having you on the show, my friend. Really interesting and insightful. I definitely enjoyed it, and eye-opening for a lot of things that's happening and to look for in the future in the sports industry. Thank you for joining us on INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech, and be sure to connect with us on social media. Till next time, keep innovating, keep smashing doors, and be brave, and stay curious, and always think outside the box. Thank you and take care.
Thanks, Bob.
My pleasure again. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share INNOV-8 Presents Entrepreneurs in Tech podcast. And if you're joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.